So, yo, what up? I did my book and I did my project on the book Into the Wild by John Crocker. I don't know. So, essentially, the book is about this dude. His name is Christopher. And McCandless. Anyways, so he's pretty well off. So he's educated. He has money. And he just graduated from college, and he he kind of wants to reinvent himself or reinvent his life, I guess. And so he wants to start over, and but he takes it to another extreme. It's not like I'm gonna cut my hair. It's gonna I'm living in the wild. Anyway, so after graduating from college, he donates money that he has, $24,000, to a charity called Oxfam. He burns the money in his wallet, and he just changes his name from Chris to Alex. And before that, he tells his parents that he's going to do some traveling for the summer, and that traveling is eventually he writes a letter telling his parents that he doesn't want to talk to them anymore, that he's not going to see them anymore. And he's crazy for that, but he starts he packs everything that he owns into his car, and he's driving and stuff, and his car gets damaged, and some of the things in his car get damaged, so he puts them in a backpack and starts walking and hiking. And he wasn't very prepared. He just had a sack of rice, and his equipment was very minimal. It wasn't he was prepared for this. He didn't really do his research, I guess. And people realized that when they saw him, they're like, oh, he's not prepared. So his trip was very misadventure or whatever. And just because he was so unprepared, and he wasn't really expecting it. So he didn't have a lot of food towards the end of his journey, and so he had to eat bugs and plants, and he started researching to see what plants were available for him to eat. And he was hunting game because he bought a gun. But when he killed some of those things, they would go bad. So whatever. And the last few days he was barely hanging on. He was barely passing as living, and he was very malnourished, and he ultimately died of starvation just because he didn't have he was really weak, and he didn't have he couldn't go out and get the food that he needed. So I think that this book has a little bit of both of the books that we had, similar to Wild, because they both made the conscious decision to go out and live a separate life out in the wild and adventure and do all those things for personal reasons. And they were both very unprepared as to how strenuous the adventure was going to be, and the materials and the equipment they needed. But it's kind of the long walk too, because of the unexpectedness of the book, and how they were both starving and really hungry, and there was just kind of there's just turns and everything, and kind of the long walk. I don't think that I personally relate to this book in my personal adventures. Only one thing, which is the unpreparedness, because I'm always unprepared. And in the ropes course, I was kind of cold because I wasn't wearing the proper I guess clothing or whatever. And I think I was kind of unprepared for the backpacking trip. But that's just pretty much it, where I kind of relate to the book. Just I don't know, I just don't really relate to it, just because I kind of still talk to my parents, and I would very much to keep $24,000. So I have a quote that I thought it was kind of cool, in relation to what my adventure what my definition of adventure is that I read from the book. So this is a letter he wrote to someone named Ron. I fear you will follow the same inclination in the future, and thus fail to discover all the wonderful things God has placed around us to discover. Don't settle down and sit in one place. Move around, be nomadic, make each day a new horizon. And so my definition of adventure is like just going out and like doing something that isn't in your daily routine, that's something that isn't in your safe zone or like in your bubble. Just like going out and exploring, whatever that means to like personally to each person, you know. So my personal plans of adventuring are going out and exploring anywhere, honestly, with my friends or my family this summer, especially going camping because I do that every year. I really want to go explore in Seattle or Oregon, and just honestly just adventure anywhere and whenever I have time, essentially. So thank you for watching. This has been extremely awkward, and I'm probably dying in the corner down there, or down there, or down there. I don't know. Okay, peace.